Welcome back to the 2-Minute Warning. Today I'm taking a look at the LA Chargers, but more specifically Keenan Allen and Davante Adams after Keenan Allen is supposedly reaching out to bring in Davante Adams to LA. But before we get into that topic, just a quick question for those of you viewing. Which wide receiver duo would you rather take? The theoretic one of Keenan Allen, Davante Adams if they were together, or the current one, Julio Jones and A.J. Brown? Just assuming both were together, which duo are you taking? Comment down below. Getting straight into it though, if you're unaware, Davante Adams and the Packers have stopped their long-term contract negotiations, their long-term extensions. They're supposedly in a bad spot right now. Hearing that, Keenan Allen decided to tweet out to Davante Adams. He tweeted it in quote, "Come on home, brother. Come on home." And even Sean Lights Out Merriman tweeted out to Davante Adams. He just said, "Yo," and said, "What's up?" Kind of just a subtle hint. What are you thinking about? And for those of you who also don't know, just a few months ago, Davante Adams on his own, when everything seemed to be okay, tweeted at Keenan Allen, just out in general. Just to remind y'all, me and Keenan Allen would go for 300 yards a game. Clearly, there's some kind of friendship, relationship, whatever you want to call it, brotherhood, that these two are, on the same page. They do seemingly want to play with each other, but I do think it is easier said than done. Chargers, luckily for them, they have roughly $50 million in cap space next year, so of course, Davante Adams, arguably the best receiver in the NFL, is going to take a big chunk of that. He's supposedly going to be probably the highest paid receiver in the NFL, looking around $24, $25 million a year. So half of their $50 million cap space will be gone, putting them in a sticky situation. But if you get him and Keenan Allen on the same team, the O-line is sturdy, Joey Bosa, Derwin James, the entire defense is healthy, Justin Herbert's continuing to progress, Brandon Staley turned out to be your guy. What is really holding you back? Of course, you can spend $25 million elsewhere, but I mean, if you had a successful year in 2021 and you think you're one piece away to make a serious run in 2022, what's one better piece than the best receiver in football? So I'm all for it. The only things that would be holding me back is if Davante Adams for some reason wanted a trade today. He's like, "I'm not playing for Green Bay today, trade me." I don't want to see the Chargers have to give up so much cap space when if they could just wait a year, they could sign him for losing so much draft capital. I don't want to see them give up so much draft capital if for just 1 year later, all they have to do is give up cap space, money that they were going to spend either way. I don't want to see them have to trade away picks if Davante Adams were to force a trade today. But even if he were to, I would at least still consider. I'm not saying I would shut down that idea. I mean, he's still the top receiver in the NFL. I would just definitely have to think about it a lot more. Are they asking for 2 first-round picks? I don't really want to give that up if I'm the Chargers for a guy that I could get, I don't say necessarily for free in 1 year, but free draft capital-wise. And I'm not trying to be, negative route. I'm not trying to be negative Nancy here. I'm just looking at both ways. Of course, theoretically, for the positive way, just put that out there. Keenan Allen, Davante Adams, if they're on the same team, they're going to be a playoff team, I think, every single year. If Justin Herbert is healthy, that is 2 top 10 receivers in the league, and one of them is a top 1 receiver in the league. And Justin Herbert is top 10 and climbing amongst quarterbacks. And, of course, a lot of that is in contingency upon Brandon Staley, though. So, of course, that's the positive side. The negative side, A, what's it going to cost if he wants a trade? And B, can you just get him to sign with LA? What if he wants to pair up with his old buddy Derek Carr he played in college with? That would suck because he that's in the Chargers division, so that would not be ideal. What if Aaron Rodgers goes to Denver and then Davante Adams pairs up with him? That would just be a nightmare to have the best secondary in football. Yes, I do think the Broncos have I'd say the top 3 secondary in football. I don't want to give them the crown yet. Top 3 secondary in football: Aaron Rodgers, Davante Adams, Cortland Sutton, Noah Fant, Jerry Jeudy, Davante Adams, Von Miller, Bradley Chubb. Chargers fans, you have to be unbiased and say, oh damn, that is not going to look good. That is going to be a tough division for us to make out of Denver and Kansas City. Not saying it's impossible, but you can't tell me it didn't just get 25 times harder. But enough with the negative stuff. Being positive, if Keenan Allen can continue to recruit him and somehow, some way, Mike Williams broke out, and if you could keep all 3 under strap on the same team, Mike Williams, Keenan Allen, Davante Adams, that is the best receiving unit in football, hands down. And then, he's not a receiver, but Austin Eckler out of the backfield is a top 5, probably a top 3 receiving back in the NFL. Justin Herbert's probably one of the most physically gifted players in football. I mean, the dude's 6'6", 240. That is just a crazy, crazy offense. I'm just curious, can Brandon Staley and Joe Lombardi keep up? I'm sure they can, but you guys know what I mean. That is just so much firepower. That is better than the Chiefs' firepower. I'm taking Keenan Allen, Mike Williams, Davante Adams all day over Tyreek Hill and Travis Kelce. No disrespect to Kelce and Tyreek Hill, but just thinking about it, that is the best receiving unit in football. Of course, that is in contingency that Mike Williams does have a breakout year, and I'm hoping he does. And it also might put them in a sticky situation. Like, look, Mike Williams, he didn't break out. Davante Adams is available. We're going to let Mike walk. And that's fine. I mean, if he didn't break out, you gave him 4 or 5 years to do so. He's not going to do it in year 6 at this point. This is his 1 year to prove it. I'm giving him the benefit of the doubt. I want to see him break out. But if he doesn't this year, I do think they should cut their ties. Also, I don't think it just stops at Davante Adams. Of course, that's the talk right now. Keenan Allen's recruiting him. He's done with long-term extension talks. But what if, they sign Davante Adams and they're still looking for a corner? Patrick Peterson's going to be on the market. Stephon Gilmore's going to be on the market. Those are some older guys for sure. But if you're in the market for Davante Adams, you're already one piece away. And even though Stephon Gilmore is older, Pat Pete's older, you don't need him for 4 more years. You don't need him for 3 more years. You don't need him for 2 years. You need him for 1 year. It takes 1 year to make a Super Bowl run. And theoretically, I'm getting really speculative here, but who doesn't love to speculate time to time? The same team all having Justin Herbert, Keenan Allen, Davante Adams, Austin Eckler, a pretty built-up O-line. It's getting there. I think they might need to possibly get a new guard. I'm skeptical of Matt Byron and Deo Bushri. I like them. I like them better than last year, but I do think there might be better options. Maybe they don't want Stephon Gilmore. Maybe they want to sign a guard in free agency such as Brandon Scherf, or maybe look at a guard in the draft. But besides that, a rebuilt O-line, Keenan Allen, Davante Adams, Justin Herbert, Austin Eckler, and then on defense, Derwin James, Joey Bosa, Stephon Gilmore, Asante Samuel Jr. in year 2, Chris Harris Jr. trying to make a final run before he retires, Michael Davis hitting his peak, Uchenna Nwosu, maybe he developed into a Leonard Floyd play, Kenneth Murray's rising amongst linebacker rankings. Shit, what is stopping them from making a Super Bowl run? I do seriously think Davante Adams to this team is a game changer. I mean, it's just like, look what D-Hop did to the Cardinals. Obviously, they still didn't make the playoffs, but they went from having a top 10 draft pick the year before in Kyler's rookie year to all of a sudden making a almost playoff run, and that probably would have been a playoff run if it weren't for bad coaching. This is the top receiving league. He's going to change any team he wants. Hopefully the Chargers, and I'm hoping for the Chargers in LA that he ends up in LA, but it is unfortunate. It feels like of the 4 teams you'd go to, it's Green Bay, which doesn't affect LA, or LA, which makes everything perfect, or the other 2 are both Denver or Las Vegas, which is pretty unfortunate because they not only don't choose you, but he chooses your arch enemy, your biggest rival, or whatever you want to call it. That would definitely suck, but anything's possible. Let's not, go down that route just yet. I'd love to see it. Hopefully Keenan Allen could keep up the recruiting, and hopefully Green Bay could keep messing up with their players. I'd love to see Davante Adams in LA, and there's a lot more factors that go into it, like what about the other players in free agency? What do we do in the draft now? What about Mike Williams? But that's a good problem to have if you got Davante Adams on your team. As always, guys, you guys tell me, do you agree or disagree that I'm all for it? Are you all against it? Are you kind of in the middle like me, where of course I want it to happen, but you're also a little like, oh shit, what if he goes to Raiders? What if he goes to Denver? Either way, I'm rooting for LA to pull him in. And referring back to the question asked earlier, which duo am I taking? It's obvious, Keenan Allen and Davante Adams. Of course, you could make the argument theoretically that Davante Adams is the best receiver in the league, and Keenan Allen is somewhere between the 8 through 10 range, and then you got Julio Jones and A.J. Brown, and Julio's between the 3 and 5 range, and A.J. Brown's between the 5 and 7 range. You can make that argument that, A.J. Brown and Julio Jones aren't at the top or bottom, but they're in the center, and then Keenan Allen and Davante Adams, they're at the top and at the bottom amongst top 10, but either way, I personally don't really think that. I love Julio, but I do think he's going to hit a wall sooner or later. Could be in 4 years, but I just think Davante Adams and Keenan Allen have much longer peaks and primes than Julio does at this point in their careers, and therefore I'm taking Duo A 100% of the time. You guys tell me, do you agree or disagree? As always, and of course, thank you for watching, guys. 2-minute warning.